All right, everybody. Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the People of the Lie review series. It has been forever, yes? I am so sorry that I kept you guys waiting as long as I did. It was not intentional, it never is. It was just one part creator's block, one part life, one part computer issues, just a little bit of everything all at once and compounded over the course of several months. But I do want to say, I went and checked. We did the first episode of this on August 3rd, 2020. So I'm actually still within my 1 year. I'm still within my 1 year goal. And if I really apply myself, I can actually finish within a year, like I promised you guys. Okay. So I doubt that will happen though, but I am going to try to do at least one a week until we're done, because it shouldn't take a year to review a book, honestly. But after this one, we're taking like a year off from book reviews until I can find a better way to actually review them with you. Although I just felt like there was no other way to go through this book. You know what I mean? Like to me, there is no recap with this particular book. There is no quick way to get through it. There's so much to discuss, which is why so many people recommended it to me when I first started this channel. So welcome everybody. It's so good to have you. Welcome back. What we are going to do is pick up with chapter 4. So part of what held me up with this book review is chapter 3 ends in a very unusual way. It talks about like voodoo dreams, and I think, is this the one where it talks about the spider? Y'all know how I feel about those things. I don't like to talk about spiders. I don't. And even me saying that right now, guaranteed, I'm going to not only see one tonight, but see like a jumbo one. Okay. So between the voodoo dreams and spiders, honey, I couldn't figure out how to put it all together in a meaningful way for you. And I tried. It's not for not trying. I really did. And it hemmed me up and put me in a deep creator's block. So I am sorry. But that said, if you have the book, do obviously finish out chapter 3. It does have very valuable information in it. Information I wouldn't want to miss. Information I really did want to talk about with you guys, but I just couldn't put it together. So we're going to start with chapter 4, which in my book begins on page 150. Okay. It might begin on a different page for you, but in my book, it begins on page 150. Welcome everybody in the chat as you fill in. So as always, we have our disclaimers. This book does deal with evil, spirituality, and religion. And there's also heavy psychological content, which could potentially be triggering for some people. Okay. This is not a lighthearted book review. This is not lighthearted content. So we will laugh here and there. We will find our laughs here and there, as we always do. But this is serious stuff. And I say that because if you're new to this series and you've never read this book could open doors for you that you didn't even know existed, which can be great for the healing process. But if you weren't ready for that and you don't have any way to kind of deal with it in the moment, it can be kind of bad. Okay. So if it gets too bad for some of you, we do still have a partnership with BetterHelp. They are a sponsor of the channel. Sponsor meaning we're partnered, but I have to legally say sponsor now. But I am not getting an ongoing check from BetterHelp, because to me, that's what sponsor means. Sponsor means I pay you every month to say this. The relationship BetterHelp and I have is if you sign up for a membership, I do receive a commission from that sign up. That is the relationship that we have. That is the link on your screen. They are offering 10% off to my viewers and subscribers. So if this gets too bad and you maybe don't have health insurance, you can't go see your own therapist, you have access to BetterHelp through this channel. Okay. So thank you, BetterHelp, for being a channel sponsor. This is the book that we are reviewing. It is called People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil by Dr. M. Scott Peck. This book was written in 1983. It is a national best-selling book, and it does continue to receive positive reviews to this day. I was first made aware of this book back in 2016 when I started this channel, but I didn't actually read it until 2020. And that's where this book review was born, from me finally reading this book. Okay. So I hope you all have a chance, or have had a chance, to read it. And if this is your first time coming across all this info, you can find a link to the book in the description box so you can get your own copy and read along. Okay. Most of you are actually done already. Most of you have finished the book. You're waiting on me. Believe it or not, I actually have not finished the book. Where am I in this book? I made it up to page 224. So I'm right in the middle of all that military stuff. So I don't know what comes after that. Looks like it just goes on and on and on. Does it close out talking about that? Yeah. So anyway, we'll get there. But that's where I am in the book. So I actually have not finished it yet. But tonight's focus for People of the Lie, episode 9, evil is confusing. Evil is confusing. And this particular chapter's content inspired this title, but it also made me think about everything we've discussed so far on the channel and how narcissists often seem to want to muddy the waters on purpose. They want to be confusing. They hate clarity. We did a whole video on that. They cannot stand it when you're clear. It's like it cuts them down to their soul. What we will discover at the end of this particular review is that much of evil is confusing on purpose, and truly it might be a sign that you're dealing with an evil person if they're either trying to confuse you or you walk away feeling confused. Okay, so we're going to dive deep into it. Welcome to everybody in the chat. It is so good to have you, and it's so good to have you back. This was a highly requested series, so I had to finish it. Okay, so starting with page 150, it says, the evil flee both self-examination and any situation in which they might be closely examined by others. Okay. Now he starts chapter 4 off with the case of Charlene. And this is me paraphrasing, but essentially he was confused by Charlene at first because he could not understand why she was there, really. He really couldn't put his finger on it. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I do believe he said that she was pretty intelligent. I think he said she had a good job. I might be mixing her up. But basically, for all intents and purposes, she appeared to be a pretty normal person. So he couldn't quite figure out why she was there. But as he continued to tell the story of Charlene, we slowly began to discover why Charlene was there. Okay. And I think this is the first time he said he really felt like a creepy feeling with someone, but he couldn't put his finger on it, right? So he tells this all through the case of Charlene. And he starts off by saying the evil flee both self-examination and any situation in which they might be closely examined by others. And he goes on to say that in every instance, although lengthy, the treatment was a failure. And I do believe he was talking about he was saying that patients similar to Charlene, try as they might, every single time they try to treat these people, it fails. They can't do it. And so it made me think of narcissists. It made me think about how the number one thing they're always trying to duck with you is accountability, getting down to the heart of the matter, answering questions directly, answering straight questions. And in this particular scenario, he's basically saying that, you know, the evil in general are going to avoid situations where they're going to be examined closely by others. For example, interviews, therapy situations. They don't want to go, because the thing about questions, and especially open-ended questions, is in general, they're supposed to lead you to the truth eventually. The truth remains constant. So no matter how you try to dance around it and avoid it, the truth still has a way of still presenting itself at the end of your equation. So When evil people or narcissistic people begin to be examined by others, they tend to run. They tend to flee. I think this is stage 5 of the 5 stages of narc anger video that I did. They're going to leave. They're going to leave the room. And in general, they're going to ice you out after that, because their hope and their goal is that you will drop it, that you will leave the issue alone and leave them alone so they can continue their evil agenda. And it's so hard to duck open-ended questions. It's very easy to duck closed questions like yes and no. Okay. So also on page 150, he goes on to say that Charlene was totally unaffected by therapy. And I think that that is an experience we can all say we've had with evil or narcissistic people. They are totally unaffected by you, by anything that you've said. They seem to be very unaffected by consequences. They seem unaffected in general. And this is a thought. Let me make a note. I'm really going to try to do better at this. I'm going to say unaffected and not bothered by anything. This is something I want to discuss in the after show. So I'm making a note. Unaffected and not bothered by anything. Okay. So let's move on. Welcome everybody in the chat. It's good to have you back. So this is on page 159. And he said, if I had to put my finger on a single cause for Charlene's failure to be healed in the long years she spent with me, it would be her failure to regress. Okay. So let me actually give you the definition of regress, the real definition, and then I'll tell you my interpretation. So the actual definition of regress verb is to return to a former or less developed state. The action of returning to a former or less developed state. Revert, retrogress, relapse, lapse, backslide are some synonyms, okay? So the way I interpret all of that is the ability to reflect or the ability to look back. The ability to examine a situation, what you did, what someone else did, how those actions mixed and the outcome, whether or not you were responsible for that. And if so, how do you go about rectifying that? But basically the ability or the willingness to look back. Y'all, if you have the ability to do that, that is very, very powerful. Now, some people look back too much and they stay stuck in the past. But if you have the ability to look back on a situation and think about that situation, you are further ahead than the narcissist or the evil person in your life. They cannot do this. And it's either a cannot or will not. And it's probably more of a will not, because to me, it's almost like they believe if they look back, they will turn into a pillar of salt. Like, it's almost like the equivalent of if I look back, it's the equivalent of acid being thrown on me and me melting. Like it is the destruction of me. Looking back is the certain destruction of me, because everything that I am is based on this false image of myself that I work very hard to create and very hard to maintain. So if you make me look back and acknowledge anything that doesn't align with this artificial person, it is the destruction of me. It is the death of me. That's how they treat it. Okay. So this ability to look back. So when it comes to people in your life, those you suspect might be narcissistic, one way you can tell is if they absolutely refuse to discuss anything from the past, anything. Now, I don't mean situations where you just keep bringing up something that they've apologized for, they've atoned for it, they've never done it again, but you just keep bringing it up and throwing it in their face as like a trump card. That's not fair. You can't do that to people, to just keep bringing something up that they've made up for. We're talking about the issues that go unaddressed, unacknowledged, unapologized for. They will not talk about them with you. And they also won't look back and see how that particular issue is affecting today. So, for example, I'll just give this as an example. Let's say you let your friend borrow your car, and that evening when they had your car, they wrecked your car and they totaled it, right? Now, luckily, you had insurance. Your friend paid you your deductible. So you were able to go get another car. But, it doesn't mean that you were happy about it, right? So then let's say fast forward 6 months, you remained friends with this person and they ask to borrow your new car and you say no. And they say, why? And you're like, are you serious? And you're like, sweetheart, you wrecked my last car. No. And they're like, but you had insurance. You had insurance. You have a new car now. Like, it was an accident. I didn't mean to. Why are we going back there? Why are we living in the past? This is today. And it's like, darling, I kind of can't. I guess this is a bad example because if they made up for it by paying you your deductible, this is a bad example. I'm sorry, you guys. It's all I could think about. Yeah, it says they are good at rewriting history. They will change the narrative. So I'm sorry, the car example wasn't a very good example because they made up for it in the form of paying for the deductible, but still, you probably still wouldn't want them to use your new car. Some of you would. Some of you are very forgiving like that. And I admire you. And I would actually like for you to teach me how to be forgiving in that way. I would, because I need it. I need that type of instruction. But I'm pretty sure you guys could come up with your own example of someone who refuses to acknowledge something that they did in the past and refuses to see how that is affecting today because they wouldn't acknowledge it or they wouldn't fix it or they won't talk about it. So they don't understand how or why it's affecting your relationship today. Same thing. Okay. So let's go on to the next slide. I feel sad for my example. I wish I had a better one. I was going to say cheating, but I mean, people always use cheating as an example. But I'll just use cheating because it's an easy win. But if you are with someone and they cheated on you a lot in the past and you found out about it, y'all went through your drama with it, and then you decided you were going to stay in the relationship, but you still have trust issues, that would kind of be, I mean, you cheated on me left and right in the past. Like, why would I trust you now? Now, I personally think you should end the relationship because I feel like, why would you be in a relationship with someone you don't trust? But that's a different conversation, but that's the next best example that I could come up with. You have trust issues today because of the cheating of the past that hasn't been entirely rectified. So there you go. All right. So moving on, this is on page 160. It says the issue of pure power was more important. Okay. So in this particular story, he's discussing how in therapy and in situations where you are dealing with evil or narcissistic individuals, their power in that situation is more important than anything else. And another quote from page 160 is, heal me, but don't change me. I want to be healed. I want to be a better person. I want to do better, but please don't change who I am. Please don't make me do different things. Please don't make me act differently. Please don't make me take a different approach. But fix me though. But can you fix me though? It's kind of like if someone wants to get healthy, whatever healthy is for you, and you go to a specialist who specializes in that form of health, and the specialist tells you you have to do A, B, C, and D to obtain the results that you want. And you're like, oh man, but I wanted those results without having to do A, B, C, and D. And they're like, well, you're not going to get it. It's almost like simple math. Heal me, but don't change me. Garbage in, garbage out, but wants fresh at the end. You see what I mean? Constantly trying to override principles or override just simply how things work. But the point of this particular slide here, the issue of power was more important than anything else. It says, but she did not. To a certain extent, this was because she regarded my offer as a trap, as well she might. since the kind of mothering she had received as a young child had been a trap. Had the spear alone been the source of her resistance, however, it could probably have been worked through and overcome. But the issue of pure power was more important. It was not simply that she was afraid to give me a maternal power over her. Rather, it was that she did not want to relinquish any power for any reason. She wanted healing, but she was not willing to lose anything, give up anything in the process. It was as if she demanded of me, heal me, but don't change me. She wanted not only to be nurtured, but to be the boss of the nurturer. Oh, God. I laugh because God, I've been through it so much. They're like petulant children. And I hate to use the example of children. We've already discussed the possibility of taking this out of our vocabulary because it's not fair to compare children to these people, but it is like a bratty, petulant little child. It's like, I want to be your child, make me your baby, but I also don't want to follow any of your rules, respect you, or do what you need me to do in order for this to be a successful relationship. So what happens with kids like that? They typically end up tantruming out on the floor because they are really, they're living in the middle of two conflicting worlds. The world where they are the adult and they are in charge of you, and the world where they also want to be the baby. It's almost like, picture like a giant ogre. And when the ogre is trying to control you, it's big and like towering and like 20 feet tall and kind of scary a little bit. But as soon as you talk back to the ogre and you say, sit down, or something to that effect, or basically however you chastise the ogre, it's like they shrink down into a baby ogre. And then the baby ogre starts screaming and tantruming on the floor. And they want you to pick them up and rock them and tell them it's going to be okay. And then as the baby ogre starts to feel better, it starts to become big again. And it starts to grow into that 20-foot ogre again. All right. So exactly like that lady in Victoria's Secret. Exactly. She was so big and so scary and threatening and charging at that lady. We'll talk about this on the news break tomorrow. And some of you already know what I'm talking about. But as soon as that woman started recording her, she shrunk down into the baby ogre and literally started crawling around and flailing around on the floor. Literally. Like, it is absolutely amazing to watch. Like, it's incredible to watch. Okay. So this is on page 161. And it says, a key element is Charlene's behavior was, typo, sorry. A key element in Charlene's behavior was her request, no, her demand, that I love her without regard to how she behaved. Man, I could do a video on this. And I might start actually doing that. Anytime we have moments like these, just pull them out and actually do a video on them. Because this is all narcissists everywhere. Their requirement of you and their demand of you is that no matter how I treat you, no matter how good, but especially no matter how bad I treat you, you are to love me still. Like, they want unconditional love, but they offer nothing but conditional love. And they offer nothing but unlovable behaviors and unlovable things. Like, they do unlovable things. They make themselves quite unlovable. Now, hear me out. I do believe all people are worthy of love and good treatment. But, like, you still have to participate in the particular game. I think I might have skipped a slide. Let me see something. Hold on. I did skip one. Sorry. All right. I'll come back to that one in a second. All right. They want to be loved without regard to how they behave. And they do not believe that their behavior has any impact on you. Like, to them, their behavior is like you watching a movie to them. So you go to a movie, you're invested in the movie. You might even cry at the movie, right? Because the movie moved your heartstrings. But once the movie is over, it's over. And generally, unless it was a really, really, really good movie, generally you forget about the movie. You might forget the plot, but generally the movie is not part of your day-to-day life anymore. It happened and then it's over, right? The narcissist wants you to treat them and their behavior towards you like a movie. Like, yeah, I know that was a really toxic movie that you were watching with me yesterday, but that movie is over. The credits have rolled. Like, you're still impacted by that movie that was yesterday. And that's how they really, truly, honestly look at it. Why are you impacted by something that happened yesterday? And it's like they just do not understand that these things add up, that you have a memory. They don't get that you have a memory, that you have feelings. You know what I mean? Again, they want you to treat it like a movie. It happened and it's over. Let it go. All right. So then back to the slide that I skipped accidentally. This is on page 161. And I thought this was important because it's one of the main themes of this channel. He said, you are of great value simply because you exist. And this is a concept that narcissists and evil people either actively disregard or simply do not understand, that basic, decent human treatment of another is owed to everybody, even them. So the problem comes in where a narcissist thinks that you have to earn the basic dignities of humanity and human treatment. Like, in other words, you being a human being is not good enough for them. They have to find a reason to treat you with basic respect. I'm talking about just basic respect. They have to find a reason, and you have to give them a good reason to treat you with basic respect. Otherwise, they're not going to. And this is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous idea, because what it does is enable people to treat people that they don't think are worthy any kind of way that they want to, because they don't think that you've earned basic human dignity. You see what I mean? Permission to exist because you already do. You're already here. And that's why you're valuable. Now, the narcissist will take this to mean, well, I'm of high value. I'm of high value. So therefore, treat me like a king. It's not what this means. It means you're valuable and worthy of the basic respect and human dignity simply because you exist, simply because you are a being. This is the root cause of most of the narcissist behavior. They simply just don't see other people as real. They really don't. They don't see them as actual existing, living, breathing human beings. They don't. So I wanted to make sure I covered that. I don't know how I managed to skip that one. All right. So still on page 161, kind of the same idea, same concept. She insisted that I love her as a mother would an infant, but she insisted also that I treat her as an adult peer. And this is the worst kind of relationship to be in. It is the absolute worst, y'all. I was in a friendship like this before. I don't think I'm in this friendship anymore. I don't think so. It appears to be over. But anyway, it's hard because you try to relate to this person as your peer, as someone your same age group, same generation. You know what I mean? And in doing so, you often hurt them because they are also infants. So you were straight talking with each other yesterday, keeping it real 100%. And then you keep it real the next day and they're tragically wounded and hurt. And you're like, what? Why are you upset? What happened? Oh, because I said that? We always talk like that. What are you talking about? Like, and what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you can't hurt somebody on accident. What I'm saying is you never really know how to be with them because from day to day, they shift in between being an adult and being an infant. So on the one day where you're an adult, I might say, girl, I would run far and fast from him. He ain't right. Something ain't right. And then on the next day when you're an infant and I say, girl, I would run, and you wait. And when you're an adult, you laugh, you chuckle about it. Then the next day when I say, girl, I don't know about that one. I would run far and run fast. You're mortally wounded because you think that I'm judging your dating choices. And now you're crushed and hurt. And now I have to coddle you and make you feel better about your dating choices when just the day before I said the same thing. Do you see what I mean? Like, you don't know how to be with them. You don't know when you can be honest and when you need to hold back some. You don't know when you can tell them the truth or when you need to tell them an edited version of the truth, or don't tell them at all. You don't know from day to day when they're happy for you or when they're upset and jealous like a baby would be. Think about when a baby I'll say toddler. When a toddler sees another toddler get a toy, typically they want a toy too, right? Or if the toddler sees another toddler get a cookie, typically they want a cookie too, right? So when you're dealing with a friend who alternates between being an adult and being an infant, you really can't share your life successes with them, because on some days when they're being an adult, they're happy for you, legitimately happy for you, and celebrate your success. But on the days where they're being an infant, you could tell them the same good news and literally like it sends them into a deep, dark place because they're so incredibly jealous about it. It's a horrible friendship to be in. It's awful because you feel like you can never be yourself because you never know how you're impacting them. You don't know if you're hurting them today or if you're helping them today or if it's just a neutral day. You don't know. So this is kind of the dynamics of that particular relationship, that rotation between adulthood and childhood. Okay. Welcome everybody in the chat. Yeah, I'm on the same energy. It says, I refuse to coddle adults. I refuse to. I can't do it. I'm not a therapist. I might seem like one, but I'm not a therapist. You need to go get with a licensed counselor who can help you out with this. Seriously. This is on page 162. It says, mental health requires that the human will submit itself to something higher than itself. Man, here's another could be a video. So I like to think of this in terms of one concept we've discussed before and how narcissists love to try to override principles. Okay. PLE, principle. Okay. Natural laws, universal laws, things of that nature. They really work hard to try to override it. They really do. And sometimes they're successful temporarily, but really all they've done is suspend the natural law. So for example, flight and flying, airplanes. Yeah, you've overridden gravity, but really all you've done is suspend it temporarily, because no sooner than your contraption doesn't do exactly what it's supposed to do, the natural laws take over again. You see, that's why it's so important for all of that to go very well, because the natural laws never stop working, never. And they will always override you. I can't really think of one instance where a person has successfully overridden them completely. And it could happen. I'm not saying it hasn't, but I just can't think of any. But mental health requires that the human will submit itself to something higher than itself. So when people read this, I think their automatic first thought is religion, God, spiritual, something spiritual. And for some people, it is spiritual. For some people, that submission is a submission to God, is a submission to whatever their religion dictates, right? But for others, and really for everyone, we are all subject to the natural laws and natural principles that dictate life. And the people who run into the most issues are those who try to override them. So here's a couple examples that I could think of. And I was hoping that you guys would maybe drop a few more examples in the chat as I go through these. But one is like food and eating, right? There's many different ways that people try to override this. So for example, And I'm not talking about people with eating disorders. Not at all. I'm talking about people who are absent a eating disorder. Um, they might try to override a principle of being allergic to a certain food. They might try to override the fact that they're not supposed to have sugar, maybe. They might try to override the fact that they're actually hungry. You know what I mean? And ignore it. They might try to override the fact that they eat too much or eat too little. Like, these are just my examples. They're not always the greatest. So food and eating, you know, some people will purposely try to go without eating for days. They're not bulimic, they're not anorexic. They just don't feel like doing it. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is they don't like the fact that they have to do it. So they try to not eat to try to feel like they're not human. Does that make sense? Yeah, it said, the chat says exceptionalism for themselves. So they don't have an eating disorder. They don't have any type of body dysmorphia. It's not about their body. It's not about anything like that. It's simply the fact that the human vessel has to eat, and they don't like that. They don't like the fact that their body is forcing them to do something. So they try to override it. That's what I'm trying to say. So hopefully that makes sense. What does this say? When David Blaine sat in a glass box for 47 days without food or water. Perfect example. Perfect. Exactly. He's trying to show you that he's superhuman. That's exactly what I mean. So sometimes you will hear people brag about it. Like, oh man, I don't eat, or I don't eat, or I just eat not to be hungry, which is fine. That is within your rights. I'm not judging you. Some people just don't really like food. And in fairness, a lot of today's food is absolutely disgusting, but that's a different show. It's the people who are trying to prove that they're not human by not eating. That's what I mean. Okay. Or by overeating, like the binge eaters, the people who will sit there and eat those super hot peppers. I can't think of their name, but there's like a pepper that's like the hottest pepper on earth. They'll sit there and eat those and tear up their esophagus with all those acids and stuff. People like that too. So it can go in the reverse. Okay. It says, yeah, the chat says, yes, my ex didn't eat for days because rock stars drink, not eat. Perfect example. Perfect example. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly, y'all are nailing it. Perfect. So then in the same vein, in the same thread, these same people often will brag about how they don't sleep. Exactly. I see it in the chat. The chat says, what about the folks who say, I'll sleep when I'm dead? Perfect example. The sleep one is easier for me to elaborate on. But these people pride themselves on only getting maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, maybe 2 hours. And again, if that's just your body and the way your body works and there's nothing you can do about it, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you anyway. It's your body. You rest it when you want to. Your sleep often does not affect me. And I'll elaborate on the often in a second, but they don't like to sleep because the body requires it. That's why they don't like to sleep. It makes them feel mortal. It makes them feel normal. It makes them feel regular like you. They want to be irregular. They want to be abnormal. They want to be the person who can eat an apple and sleep 1 hour a night and be totally successful. They want to be that person. They want you to be in awe of that. The fact that they don't eat or sleep and they're still alive. They want you to be impressed by that. And the reason I said often, their sleep patterns often don't affect me is because by and large, they don't. It's only been the situations where I've been in a relationship with a narcissist who would try to deprive me of my sleep. So because you just want to go power down for an hour and a half and get back up, doesn't mean that I want to. Will wake you up in the middle of your sleep for one reason or another. You know what I mean? Purposely disturb your sleep, tell you sleep too much. Well, maybe I sleep too much because you keep interrupting my sleep and I can't finish my nap. Like, It's insane the way sleep has been attacked by narcissists. My sleep has been attacked by narcs over the years. It's incredible. Like, it really bothers them. You getting your rest really bothers them. No matter how much you're accomplishing when you're awake, that means nothing to them. It's the fact that you're still asleep and they're up. Okay. Um, but they really truly pride themselves on sleep abuse. Yes, that's a great term. Sleep abuse. That's why I refuse, honey. I'll marry somebody. Okay, that's fine. I'll marry you, but you have to live next door, because when I'm asleep, I'm going to lock you out of the house and you're going to need somewhere to go. You understand? So, ooh, the chat says if you're tired, then it's easier for them to manipulate you. Exactly, because you become a zombie. You have to sleep. And they just don't want to acknowledge that reality. That's why they try to override it. Okay. They just cannot submit themselves to things that are higher than themselves. They can't do it. Obviously, they're not going to submit to God. And even in this chapter with Charlene, she had a rage quit somewhere later on where she screamed at him and she was like, I don't want to live for God. I don't want to live for God. I want to live for me. Here it is. It's on page 168. She said, I don't want to live for God. I will not. I want to live for me, my own sake. I was like, oh my God, there it is. Hey, there it is. It took him like 20 pages, but we finally got to the root of it, did we not? She said, I don't want to live for God. I will not. I want to live for me, my own sake. Whew. Boy, when that demon hops out and starts speaking, baby, every now and then they'll hop out and just start speaking. And that's the problem. That's how they got kicked out of heaven in the first place. They didn't want to live for God. They wanted to live for themselves and their own sake. And that's why they got thrown out in the first place. Okay. So anyway, very interesting concept. So let's talk about this. This is on page 162. Yeah, it sounded just like Satan, right? It sounds just like something that Satan would say. I don't want to live for God. I will not. I want to live for my own sake. Whew. That one just gives me chills, because I feel like it's a moment where it wasn't her anymore. It was whatever lives inside of her was speaking through her at that moment. This is on page 162. It says mental health is an ongoing process of dedication to reality at all costs, you guys. This is something I'm definitely going to do a video on. The other two are speculative, but this is something I'm just trying to find the words for, because I've been meditating on this for months now. And the meditation is essentially that some people really like lies and they are really committed to lies. And that commitment to lies is ultimately what destroys their life. So, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. One of my first, what I consider real jobs, it had its good moments, but it also had its really like awful and truly, honestly, evil as it relates to this book moments. And if I was a person who believed lies and was committed to lies, what I would have been telling myself at that time was, well, all jobs are kind of bad. All jobs kind of suck. No job is really all that great. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, they pay me. I have health insurance. You know, it's a guaranteed job. So who would I be to try to find something different, because this one has really, really crappy parts? And I'm just going to commit, and I'm just going to dig my heels in and just deal with the bad and celebrate the good when it comes. That's called lying to yourself. That's what that's called. And guess what that would have produced? That would have produced a person who would probably still be on that job to this day. Now, some of you would consider that a good thing. But I'm telling you, if I was still on that job to this day, permission to exist would not exist. I would barely exist. I would be a shell of my former self. I would have fallen into a deep, deep, almost untreatable depression. I would have questioned life itself. I would have been incredibly unhappy. I know my health would have suffered eventually. I know I wouldn't look like this, honey. I would look aged. raggedy, beat down, broke down, busted down to the ground is who I would be today if I believed those lies. So it's kind of like, and it plays out in so many different ways, you guys. That's why I'm having trouble coming up with the words to that video, because it happens in more than one way. So for another example, I'll take it to the work. Well, it's another workplace example, but a lot of people won't tell the truth at work because they don't want to look like the bad guy. So no matter what happens, they always say that it's great. It's awesome. That was incredible. That was amazing. You did great. Oh, that was awesome. That was an incredible presentation. Oh, that meeting went great. That was great. Yeah, that project idea is great. Yeah, I read over it. It's great. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's good. Yeah. No problems at all. It's great. Yeah. Oh, that was incredible. Oh, yeah, they loved it. I think they loved it. Yeah, it was awesome. When people lie like that, what you do is create a monster of some kind. You're building a monster because what you're doing is refusing to fix what is wrong. There's nothing wrong with something being wrong. There is nothing wrong with something being wrong. It's almost like in their fragile minds, if something's wrong, then that's something wrong with them. And it reflects on them and they're horrible people. And they should just quit life. And it's like, would you relax? Oh my God, it's this one little thing, this one little typo. We just need to fix that one typo. That's it. Like, life is not over just because something is wrong. Life becomes over when you refuse to acknowledge what's wrong. And we just got to see that in the form of this collapse, this condo collapse down in Miami, did we not? By constantly pretending, you pretend your way into someone's death. It can happen like that, you guys. It happens. This condo collapse is like the most extreme example, but you could even take it to cases of medical malpractice or situations where people get hurt in the medical industry because nobody wants to tell the truth about something. No one wants to tell the truth about that doctor. No one wants to tell the truth about that nurse. Hey, she can't count. Hey, she can't read. She's a great person, but she can't read. She keeps giving these people the wrong medication because she can't read. You see what I mean? Telling the truth, radical truth, hard truth. That's what makes you strong. I'm telling you, like I've been reflecting heavy on this, you guys. Heavy. And that might be how I have to do that show. Instead of me trying to find content, just talking through it until I get all the thoughts out, because I'm like, I think I've run into so many problems with people on the job and all that because I dwell in reality, you guys. I dwell strongly in reality. I have a very firm commitment to reality. And I think a lot of the people that I've interacted with in my life have committed to some lie somewhere. And reality and lies just don't mix well. That's why I'm always asking so many questions, or if something's going on, I have a million questions because all I'm trying to do really is find the reality of the situation. I'm trying to find my way to the reality. And when you're dealing with people who absolutely refuse to give you that reality, of course you're going to run into problems. And especially if they're committed to a lie, of course you're going to run into problems. So the way this plays out on the job, like I've had a lot of jobs that deal with training and instruction and things like that. And often I find myself having to tell either my peers or my boss, this class sucks. Now, obviously, I'm more tactful than that. I've got my professional speak down. I know how to fancy it up and pad it with words that make them feel better. But the message that's communicated at the end of me telling them all that is this class sucks. People aren't signing up because this class sucks. Their friends take it, and when they get out of it, they pray to God that they never have to go through anything like it again. And then they go tell their friends, hey man, hey girl, if you don't have to, don't take that class. It sucks. But we can fix it. Like, I'm not doom and gloom with no solutions. My whole thing is I dwell in reality. I'm like, hey, this class sucks, but we can actually fix it. All we would have to do is move this, move that, put this in, take that out, rearrange, boom, 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 better class. We can fix it. But when you refuse to acknowledge the reality that this class sucks, you're going to continue to have a sucky class until eventually, if selling courses is what you do and nobody's buying the courses that you sell, you're going to go out of business. And that's the reality. And that's just one example. I'm sure you all could think of a million more. But I dwell in reality. I live in reality. I really do. And it has made all the difference in my life, you guys. All the difference. Being able to be real, not only with myself, but with other people. And often they don't like it. They don't like it when I'm real with them. They don't like that truth. But you know what I think I've decided to do? Is actually become even more honest in the form of taking away all the soft words. I've tried to do that here on this channel. I've actually worked on it a lot, just trying to speak freely from the heart and stop masking it with all these friendly words, because I don't think it's helping and I still get the same results. So if you're still going to treat me like an asshole because you don't like what I'm saying to you, well, I might as well say it exactly how I'm feeling to really give you a reason to be mad. So at least you can walk away and say, well, she was rude. Yeah, I was incredibly rude. But did you get the message though? Well, perfect. As long as you walked away with the message, that's all I really care about, you see? All right, let's move on. Page 163. Another theme that has come up often on this channel, her love invariably excluded the reality of me. So this is around the part where he starts telling the story of how Charlene had fallen in love with him, honey, and told him that he was hers and she had chosen him. Charlene chose, okay? Charlene chose. She chose this doctor, even though, isn't he married? Or wasn't he married in the book? I can't remember. I feel like he may have been married, but even if he wasn't, he did not choose to reciprocate. He wanted to maintain a professional relationship, but she just wasn't having it. She wasn't hearing that. She wanted him. She decided that he was hers. Okay. And she was going to have her man. So she told him this pretty much all the time, every time she would come to the office. He said that she would come park outside of the office and just sit in her car listening to music. And I think the reason she gave, I can't quite remember, but I think the reason she gave is just because she just liked to be there or something like that. I can't remember the reason she gave for sitting out there listening to music in the car. One time he came out to his living room and she was sitting in the living room, which is also his waiting room because he saw patients at his house. I don't think we could get away with this in 2021, but this was 1983. So I think this is before society got really, really weird. But he said he would come out and she would just be sitting there and he would say, what are you doing here? You don't have an appointment. And she would say, but this is a waiting room. But this is a waiting room. He's like, yeah, but it's only a waiting room when you have an appointment. And I think, again, her excuse was something along the lines of she just liked to be there or something. Very fatal attraction. Okay. And then I think the final straw for him was when she left an appointment and then ran out of gas in his driveway or something like that. And forgive me if I'm butchering the details, y'all. I'm just going off memory. And then he came out, he siphoned some gas from his car, got gas all in his mouth. And then when he was asking her, you know, why did this happen? How does this happen? She's like, oh, I run out of gas all the time, like 3 or 4 times a year. And long story short, when he was trying to figure out why she does this, she told him it's like a game to her. She enjoys guessing if she has enough gas and if she has enough time to get gas before she runs out completely. It's like a game to her. This was one sick puppy, but he had a tough time seeing that at first. And I think that's very important to note, you guys, that even this trained therapist couldn't quite put his finger on what was up with this girl at first. It comes out sometimes over time. That's really why I think that I'm going to start not assessing anything for 90 days. I'm going to start with 30 days. And then I'm going to spread it to 60 and eventually 90. And what that means is no matter what it is, a product, a person, a job, anything, no matter what it is, I will not call it good or bad for 90 days. I'm going to try. Obviously for the purposes of this channel, I have to do that. I can't wait 90 days to talk about an issue. But I'm saying more so in my personal private life, because what I've noticed that I do is I gush about things initially when I'm new to it. If I like it, I'll gush. I'll gush about it. Like, oh my God, this is great. Da, da, da. And I mean it. Like, I like this. I like that. I like this. I like that. This is awesome. This happens often on the job for me. You would think I know better by now. Well, I do. I'm learning, which is where this 90-day rule is coming from. And then when people will come to you, say you've been working there 2 weeks, say, hey, how's the job going? You're like, it's going great. It's going good. Because it is at the time. It absolutely is. Things don't start to emerge until about the 3-month mark. I'm telling you, it's something about 90 days. True colors don't start to come out till later. And you must understand that many people are really, really great actors and actresses. And they are what I actually call natural actors and natural actresses, meaning it's basically like a second skin for them. It's not anything that they have to work on doing. They just lie by nature. They are people of the lie. They are a lie. Okay. So they're very good at masking who they really are at first. And I have to become more aware of that, because often in all that gushing, a lot of trust that should not be extended is extended. And it's not till about 60 days later that I'm like, oh my. You know what I mean? Like, dang, I really thought highly of you at first. What happened? What happened is not that they didn't make some fall from grace. This is who they always were. But I was in the early stages. I need to start waiting like 30, 60, and then 90 days before I make an assessment of someone, something, anything. Because you have to see. I'm telling you, you have to wait and see. But anyway, I don't even know how I got on that. Oh, because I was saying that he didn't see what was wrong with her at first. But back to the actual slide, her love invariably excluded the reality of me. In other words, their agenda, what they want for you, is more important than the reality of you. And it doesn't matter how much you try to describe your reality to them. They do not care, because they have their agenda or their script written for you already. And their script typically excludes the reality of you. This is often why people lose customers. And now here in 2021, this is why a lot of businesses are losing employees. And then they'll sit on the internet and cry, talking about nobody wants to work. Well, it's not that nobody wants to work, darling. It's that you're not factoring in the reality of your either former or potential employees. You won't factor it in. So your workplace excludes the reality of them. Your management style excludes the reality of them. Your whole approach excludes reality, period. You see what I mean? So the narcissist or the evil person ultimately excludes the reality of others, and you can't explain it to them either. You cannot. So here's a perfect example of that. Many people in my life, the people who are close to me, know that I need some type of notice before I can do things. And the reason is because, like, I have my life kind of in, I'm trying to get it in a perfect sequence. I know it'll never be perfect, but I have like a certain cadence that I'm running, and it helps me stay focused. It helps me stay organized and on top of things. There was a moment in time in my life where I did not have that cadence, and things were really out of whack. And I did not like the way that felt. I don't like feeling that way. So I finally have developed this little rhythm that keeps me in line. And I'm happy to incorporate you in it. You just have to tell me so I can incorporate you in it. But it's almost like when I explain that to people, it's almost like, yeah, who cares about your little rhythm? Here's my agenda. Here's my plan. Show up. And it's like, no. And they get really upset. Like if they try to tell me same day or night before about something that's happening the next day, I'm like, well, sweetie, I'm not going to be there because, and this is reality and these are facts. My hair might be dirty and I may have been planning on washing my hair either that night or the next day. And I don't go places with dirty hair. I don't like my hair to be dirty for me. You know, I'm sorry that my dirty hair offends you, but I don't like my hair to be dirty for me. So if I'm going to go be sitting with people and be with people, I want to be clean and fresh and presentable. I want my hair to look nice. And that requires notice. Honey, you're going to have to let me know to see if you fell in the right cadence day. You might get lucky and ask me to do something after I've already done my hair. I call that lucky. But I still need notice though. But it's like they exclude the reality that I actually have a life and that I actually do things and that I actually have things that I'm invested in and things that I'm interested in. It's like I think in their minds, they think that I sit around at home by my phone just waiting to be summoned by them, just waiting to be called. And that I'm totally available to drop everything and just at their beck and call be there. It's like, sweetie, we're not teenagers anymore. I think you could pull that off when you're a teenager, because let's be real, most teenagers aren't really working. If they are, it's like a part-time job. And really the only thing you really have to do as a teenager is go to school and graduate and finish. So there's a lot more flexibility in there. You know what I mean? We're not teenagers anymore. We're adults. We have full adult lives. So it's like they just exclude that reality of me and what I need, you know what I mean, in order to do this. They don't want a partner. They want to dictate. All right. So this is on page 165. This is in the book. I'm not saying that I agree with it, and I'm not saying that I disagree with it. I just think that it's very interesting that this concept is presenting itself again. And we've actually already talked about it on this channel before. And the quote is, autism is narcissism in its ultimate form. Okay. And the way that we talked about it on this channel, I'm starting to forget my own content. It was a video where we were reviewing a video that a guy who said that he hated women, I think, was saying that did he say he was autistic or did he say he was something else? He said he had Asperger's is what he said. And I think the title of that video is the alleged narcissism autism connection, something like that. Okay. And again, even in that video, I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying these are people with the condition saying that I behave in an evil way because I have this disease. Now, here's a doctor saying that autism is narcissism in its ultimate form. And I feel like this opens up and presents so many new questions if this is true. And please hear my if, because I don't want anyone who's autistic to hear this and to think that I'm saying that you are a narcissist because you're autistic. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this connection keeps presenting itself in different ways. So maybe it's worthy of more exploration. But the whole sentence is, well, let me start ahead a little bit. This is 165. It says, I gave up. For the moment, I was just too tired of batting my head against the impregnable walls of Charlene's obliviousness. As far as she was concerned, my feelings did not really exist. Autism is narcissism in its ultimate form. For the complete narcissist, others have no more psychologic reality than a piece of furniture. And it's my understanding that with autism, that's one of their biggest problems is understanding that other people are real and matter and are important too, just as much as what they want in the moment is. Okay. Now, I'm not well researched enough to quote that or even say that that's medical fact. That's just me paraphrasing what I believe to be true. But how interesting for him to bring it up here again, right? And if this is the case, hear the if this is the case, is it possible that we are dealing with undiagnosed autism on a mass scale? And hear the if we are dealing with autism, undiagnosed autism on a mass scale, how did so many people become autistic? Those are the two questions that I have. So again, we are speculating here. And the question is the problem that we're having a case of undiagnosed autism on a mass scale? And if we are dealing with undiagnosed autism on a mass scale, how did that happen? How did so many people become autistic in our society to the point where they are presenting as narcissists? How did that happen? Is it medical? Is it chemical? Is it environmental? Is it societal? If this is all true, is what I'm saying. So, and then if that's the case, then can narcissism be treated if narcissism is autism in its ultimate form? Excuse me. Yeah. No. Autism is narcissism in its ultimate form. And if that's the case, can it be treated? So these are the questions that I have regarding this issue. Again, I'm not saying that this is true. I'm not saying, aha, we found it. I'm saying, here we go again. This issue is raising itself again. Okay. I think it's possible. I see what a couple of you have written in the chat. Possibly. I mean, maybe. It's got to be something. Something happened on a mass scale to produce this in this many people. Because truly, even if it's not autism, a lot of people in our society simply are not smart. And I don't mean book smart, educated, Harvard, Yale level. That's not what I mean. What I mean is they seem to be missing basic functional skills, basic reasoning, basic logic. They're missing it. And I think the thing that puzzles me the most is that they can do something over and over and over again and never learn anything from it. For example, driving. The best drivers in our society should be older people who are like 50, 60, 70, as long as your eyes are in good shape and things like that, and your motor skills are still great. The best drivers in our society should be older people. Anyone, I would say, over the age of really 30, but I'll give you 40. I'll be nice and I'll be generous and give you 40. Anyone 40 years old and up should be eligible for NASCAR. And I mean that. I really do. Because by now, you have navigated the roads so much, you should have developed an expert level skill set regarding driving. Your driving skills should be on an expert level. And what I have found is that not only do people not improve over time, they actually seem to get worse. The best drivers, even though their insurance rates are higher and they do get in more accidents, the best drivers are the new drivers, the new ones on the road, because they're actually doing it right still, because they're scared. But then I guess as you get older, what, you lose the fear and lose all your training too? I don't know. But my point is, driving is just the example, but we could take the principle and apply it elsewhere, okay? And say that no matter how many times they engage in a certain activity, they never develop any sense of a pattern, any sense of cause and effect, any sense of how it could be improved. Nothing. It's like it just doesn't register. It's a new day every day. And to me, that would be a sign of a form of autism. And if so, how did this many people get this way? I wonder if it's all the alcohol. We did a show on alcohol that basically said that you slowly kill your brain every time you take a drink. So I wonder if alcohol has done this. Just speculating. So this is on page 177, and it says the performance was ultimately meaningless. And I need to jog my memory real quick, but I think this was in relation to, he was basically saying that narcissists put on all this song and dance, but in the end, it's ultimately for no reason. Let me see if I can find it. 177. It's like all this for what? Nothing. Like all this drama for what? Nothing. Maybe it wasn't 177 because I don't see it and I don't have it highlighted. Where did I get that from? I don't know. I'm sorry. Because I wanted to read it in the sentence, but I think I might have accidentally put the wrong page number. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, PTE, have a little bit more faith in yourself. Okay, it actually starts on page 176 and goes on to 177. It says, consequently, it was totally tasteless. There was a kind of artistry with which she could operate, such as her talent for timing when she brought down the curtain on our relationship. So Charlene had just ended their relationship. But the artistry had no grand design, unsubmitted even to the requirements of plot. It lacked coherence. The performance was ultimately meaningless. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the super chat, the honest truth. Thank you so much for coming through. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. Everybody go check out the Honest Truth channel. We did a collaboration here a couple, I was going to say months, but it's only been a few weeks, I think. A couple of weeks ago. It was awesome. And we also did an after show together. That was incredible. So thank you so much for the donation and showing the channel support and love. It's great to have you here. I might do a call-in show later. So if you're around, feel free to pop in. But I don't think I'm going to, y'all. And the reason is because I'm hungry. I'm hungry and I don't remember eating today. I think I ate a ham sandwich earlier and then I took a nap. So I'm not going to override my hunger. I'm actually going to go serve my hunger. So I don't think I'm going to do an after show, even though I feel like you guys are owed one, especially after waiting for a year for this content. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. Okay. But back to the slide 177. They put on all this song and dance and all this circumstance and all this hoopla, ultimately for no reason at all. Like there's nothing behind it. They have no goal, basically. So that's one of my favorite questions to ask someone I perceive to be narcissistic or a group of people I might perceive to be narcissistic who have a very clear agenda. I'll say, what is your goal? Like, what are you ultimately trying to achieve here? And typically they can't answer it because their performances are ultimately meaningless. It's for nothing. It's song and dance. It's circumstance. It's hoopla. It really is. It's razzle dazzle. There's a song. What musical is it from though? I don't remember, y'all. But the song is "Give 'em the old razzle dazzle them. They can't see with stardust in their eyes. But bump, 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 give them the old razzle dazzle, razzle dazzle them." In other words, just, blow smoke up their butt. You know what I mean? Because their performances are meaningless. And just going back to the whole argument that people are having over the workplace right now, this is part of the reason these narcissistic bosses and leaders want you back in the office. It's part of the performance. It's part of the meaningless performance. Like you showing up, getting your coffee, chit-chatting in the break room, sitting at your desk trying to work, but you can't focus. It's the look of it. It's the optics. It's the performance. When you're working from home, you cannot put on that performance in the same way. And it makes them feel like they have nothing to do because they really don't, you guys. They're not working on anything. So the only thing they're working on is this performance. That's it. So when you're not there, you're working from home. What is their job function? They don't have one. Because when you ask them at the end of the day, how does this contribute to the bottom line? They can't tell you. It's ultimately meaningless. Okay. So he's speaking here on how a lot of these people find their way to political office. And it says, because their willfulness is so extraordinary and always accompanied by a lust for power, I suspect that the evil are more likely than most to politically aggrandize themselves. So in other words, These people, because they are so willfully blind, it creates a certain type of ignorance that would allow you to run for political office. Not saying all of them are like this, but the lust for power mixed with the blind willfulness sets a lot of these people up for political office. So it's something to think about. He says, I suspect that the evil are more likely than most to politically aggrandize themselves. Exactly. And the thing is, they want power for power's sake. They don't want power to actually do something good. They don't want to make a difference. They don't want to make a change in the world. That's not their goal. They just want to be in charge. They really do. And they'll do anything to get it to. Anything to not be somebody's employee. Anything to not be called an employee or a subordinate to someone else. Like they'll be the manager of anything. They'll be the manager of a trash heap as long as they are the manager of that trash heap, honey. They cannot be an employee at the trash heap. They've got to be a manager because they just can't be subservient to anyone else. And then on that same page, he says, and being unsubmitted leads to many political debacles. Exactly. So because they won't submit to anything at all, they often cause a lot of problems and a lot of chaos and destruction, because life requires some form of submission always. Like you've always got to submit a little bit. You really do. To something, or something will make you submit. And you know what the ultimate submission is, you guys? The ultimate submission is death, believe it or not. I know that's really dark, and I know that that's really morbid and grim, but the ultimate submission is death. Because ultimately, death reminds you that you really never had control over any of this at any time. You kind of do, but not really. You did not control being born, and most of you will not control when you die. Okay? Death is the ultimate submission. It's the ultimate get down on your knees. I win. And this is why they fight it so much. This is why they're so afraid of it. I think most people have a natural fear of death. Like most people don't want to die, but most people are not living in terror of the day in the moment. Most people are just like, hey, look, it's a fact of life. I know it happens. I'm going to do everything in my power to stay safe and healthy and not put myself in dangerous situations. But who can control death? Sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes it's illness, So we just kind of make our peace with it and do the best we can to not bring it about rapidly. But they, on the other hand, like literally, I believe it keeps some of them up at night. The fact that one day they won't be them anymore, and that their glory and their greatness will die with them, which is why so many of them try to leave these little dusty legacies, because their greatest fear is to disappear. Their greatest fear is to not exist anymore in some meaningful way. So even if they can't be there to see it, just to know that they've got kids in the world when they died, at least they think a piece of them lives on. That's really what it's about. So they do a lot of different things to both. It's odd because they do things that avoid death, but bring it about at the same time. You know what I mean? Like they're very attached to life. And again, we all are, but like they will go fleeing from death, where some people will just, well, I guess this is the day. They will fight it tooth and nail because it is their greatest fear, because it is the ultimate submission. It's the final thing that they have no control over. Most of us do not have control over the date or the time or the manner. Okay. And they don't like that. It's the ultimate reminder that you were never in charge here. Okay. So page 179, it says, good Lord, you just totally explained Lord Voldemort. You'll have to tell me the reference. Is that Harry Potter? I didn't read the series, so I don't know the reference, but is that how he is? Page 179, it says, I know now that one of the characteristics of evil is its desire to confuse. Whew. This is like the first thing they learn how to do, how to cause confusion, how to gaslight, how to throw you off the trail. I think I've shared with you guys before, but if not, allow me to share for the first time. I had a coworker who once told me this was a married man talking about his conquests outside of his marriage, because these people confess to me. I don't know what it is. I don't mean married men, I mean demons. Demons love to confess to me. And I don't know why, because I don't ask. Usually I'm sitting minding my own business, working on something, and the demons just present themselves and tell me things. I don't know why, but he was going on and on about his conquests outside of his marriage. And he said to me, you got to keep them off balance. Got to keep them off balance. He said my last name, so I'll slip in PTE. He said, you got to keep them off balance, PTE, got to keep them off balance. And that was well over 10 years ago. And I still remember it to this day. I never forgot it, because he was just so sincere and so happy about it and so proud and confident and cocky. Like he says, maybe you decided to come down to teach this stuff, PTE. Sometimes I feel like, is my spaceship coming? Who dropped me off? Like, y'all are way overdue to come pick me up, man. Like, I don't know where I am. How come I don't match? Where is my tribe? Like, why do I think so differently? Like, hello, beam me back up. Y'all left me down here now. But anyway, funny. But he said, you got to throw them off balance, PTE. You got to throw them off balance. And I was just like, wow. He actively and purposely goes around deceiving these women, keeping them off balance so they can never really nail him down completely. That's so interesting. And I've never, ever forgot it. So this is the traits of narcissistic people, period. They like to keep you off balance. And Charlene in the book even said so. Oh, you guys are my tribe. You are my tribe. You are. And I'm glad that we found each other. So I'll stay for you guys since we have each other. Charlene actually told him that in the book, because he asked her, he said, why didn't you just tell me that before? She was like, because I didn't want you to know yet. I like to see you confused. I think she said, I enjoy seeing you confused or something like that. She told him straight up somewhere that she enjoyed seeing him thrown off. I don't quite see that particular phrase, but she liked it. She enjoyed confusing him. It was fun for her. Okay. So look out for that. Again, as you all are meeting new friends, dating, taking on new jobs and job assignments, things of that nature, anyone who won't answer a direct question for you is more than likely evil. I'm not going to just say outright they're evil people. We don't know that. They're more than likely evil. And you need to be careful about that, because straight, direct questions lead to clarity, and you are owed clarity. You deserve clarity. Now, people don't have to tell you their private business. And just because you ask, they have to just give up that information, private, personal information. But when it's something that is affecting you both, or even affecting you only, you have a right to clear, straight, direct answers. Anything that involves your money, you have a right to clear, straight, direct answers. You have a right to not be confused, period. And anyone who is okay with confusing you, keeping you confused, or refusing to clear things up, that is a person who's giving you a very early warning sign to get out of that relationship. They're giving you an early warning, okay? And if you never take away any other piece of advice from me, take away that piece of advice. That's an early warning sign, because you are owed clarity. You deserve honesty and the truth, particularly when it impacts you, okay? So for example, when people are trying to sell you things and then you have questions about the product and they don't want to answer your direct questions about the product, but they want your money, don't give them your money. Like, you want my money, but you won't even be open and upfront and straight up with me about what's going on here. Don't give them your money. They don't deserve it. They're trying to purposely confuse you and gaslight you and keep you in this cloudy state. And don't ever doubt that you're in that state. If you ever get to feeling like, I feel confused, I feel like I'm in a gray area of some kind. Okay. All right. We have a few more slides, and then I think I will do a quick after show, but I'm not going to do call in. We'll do like a quick 15-minute after show, and then I'm going to run because I'm real hungry. This is on page 179. It says, as I increasingly got her number, the possibility of my seduction became more and more hopeless, and her capacity to toy with me more and more limited. So this is typically when the narcissist loses interest in you. When they realize that they cannot snow you, they can't fool you, they can't pull the wool over your eyes, you're too smart, you're too quick, you're too sharp, you ask too many questions. That's typically when they lose interest in you. The more you start to figure them out and see them for who they really are, that's when they're going to start to disappear. The more you start to inject accountability or responsibility into the relationship, that's when they're going to start to disappear. So basically, the more this doctor figured her out, the less she tried to seduce him. And then eventually she stopped going to go see him because she realized she couldn't get him. He couldn't be had. And so it's the same situation in real life when this happens. They simply just, their fun and their joy is in duping you. And that's even a well-known phrase in the community that discusses this, duping delight. The delight of seeing that they got you, right? And here's a thought that I want you guys to take away. And I'm going to use the example of men and women, men to women rather, but I want you to be able to take this example and apply it to the reverse, women to men, women to women, men to men, whatever. But oftentimes, the reason I'm using men to women is because women tend to be more gullible. Okay, we do. I'm just being honest. Hey, Brandon A., thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support of the channel. I appreciate it. I got a thumbs up. All right now. I like that. Thank you. Women tend to be a little bit more gullible. And that's why it makes what some men do to women so much more detrimental, because essentially they are behaving like predators. Because what a predator does is look for weakness and vulnerabilities in their prey, and they wait for the right moment to attack. So if you know, by and large, women tend to be gullible. We tend to be. And you capitalize on that. That makes you a predator, right? So my point in saying all that is this. A lot of times, the reason women who get in relationships with men like these, narcissistic, evil men, the reason that narc or that evil person starts to disrespect her in such a way is because he cannot believe you fell for it. He knows who he is. He knows what he's done. And he ran it on you, and you went for it. And that just causes this evil, wicked person to lose so much respect for you, believe it or not, even though they're the ones who we shouldn't have respect for because of what they do and who they are. They actually lose respect for you because it's like, come on, girl. You don't see that I'm a monster? You don't see that I'm a complete snake? You don't see that? This worked for you? You're that dumb? Really? Wow. You actually fell for that lie? You're not going to press me on that? You're not going to question me on that? Sometimes they run little tests and things just to see. So they'll tell you they were one place on Tuesday, then wait a week and then tell you they are in a different place to see if you even notice that they switched the places up. And those of you that don't notice, they tend to have their way with. And I'm not saying that it's your fault, because I personally believe we are just naturally a little bit more trusting and naturally a little bit more gullible. So I'm not blaming you for the things that have happened to you. I'm just simply explaining the psychology of the person who's doing it. Essentially, they are saying, I cannot believe you were stupid enough to fall for this. Sometimes, you know what I mean? They'll confess to former things that they've done, like, oh yeah, I cheated on my ex a lot, and then, but I'm a different man today, and blah, 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 blah. They just want to see if that sends off any red flags with you. And if it doesn't, or even worse, if you're somebody who's already prone to making excuses for people. So here's how this will go. Yeah, I cheated on my ex a lot, you know what I mean? But I mean, that was years ago, and I'm a different person now. Oh, well, yeah, what I'm saying? Sometimes people, what I'm saying? They get in situations and everything, and what I'm saying? You be in love or whatever, but, every now and then you just meet somebody and you have feelings and you fall in love. And sometimes people cannot help who they are and they can't help who they fall in love with. And I mean, sometimes it's cheating, and sometimes that, we don't mean to cheat on each other and everything, but we're human beings. And you know what I'm saying? Like, human beings cheat on each other sometimes. And what we have to do is reach down inside and find forgiveness for ourselves and everything, and find forgiveness for one another, because that's the only way that we can move on. If we have forgiveness for one another and start to love each other, you know what I'm saying, and forgive it. You a man, and sometimes men just cheat, you know what I'm saying? And I just have to accept that as a woman, that sometimes a man gonna cheat, but I have to do everything that I need to do as a woman to make sure that I keep you happy as a man and everything, so you don't cheat on me. That's what it is. That's how it goes. I'm telling you. I'm telling y'all what I know, okay? I only come here and tell y'all what I know. That's it. I only come here to tell y'all what I know. All right? And when he sees and hears you do all that, he's sitting there going, oh man, I could probably get her to pay my rent if I play my cards right. I can get her to pay my rent, probably 2 or 3 months worth of child support, back child support. I can get her to pay that. I like her car. I bet I can get her to let me use her car and everything. She just sat here and made excuses for why I cheat on people. Okay? So these are facts. I wouldn't mislead you. This is what a lot of people do, but it's what a lot of women do as well. You got to stop this. You got to break out of this. I'm going to do you like that every time. I'm going to give you that voice every single time, because that's how you sound. Okay? Oh, God. Okay. We got 2 more slides. Then we'll take a quick break, go on the after show, and then we'll close out, because I got to eat. And I think the place I'm going is closing soon. Hold on. Let me look. I'm not going to tell y'all where I'm going because I don't want you to judge me. Let's see here. Even though I wouldn't care, because I'm still going to go and I'm still going to eat it. Oh, great. I got a little bit of time. Okay. I got some time. I got time. All right. So this is on page 180. It says, evil, whether it be demonic or human, is surprisingly obedient to authority. Now, this creeped me out. This was creepy to me. I'm like, surprisingly obedient to authority. Facts. I did a video on this called Bringing the Narcissist to Heal. And a lot of people actually disagreed with me on that video. And they were like, PTE, this is not true. I tried to bring my narcissist to heal. It doesn't work. Blah, 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 blah. You're giving terrible advice and everything. And I was like, I'm telling you, you can bring them to heal. Now, a lot of you are actually not in safe situations. So I do not recommend just going out and trying to bring your narcissist to heal tonight. Don't do that. But what I'm saying is, in a situation where your safety is relatively assured, you can bring these people to heal. It's just very uncomfortable. But it's almost like you're checking them like an ill-behaved dog. No offense to the dogs, but they like it. They want it. They're sadists. They're sick. Like you cuss them out. And if you cuss them out from the heart and really, truly mean it, it's like they hang their head in shame. And then they start tucking their tail and they become very subservient to you. Very subservient. It is strange. It's unusual. I've seen it happen more than once. And typically with me, it happens once I snap on the narcissist. Like, they've finally taken me to the level where I snap on them and I tell them exactly how I feel. I don't mince my words. I don't care if I hurt their feelings. And the end result of that usually is a submissive, subservient little puppy. And it's kind of annoying, actually. It's like, what is wrong with you? Are you a demon or are you a puppy? Because whatever you are, I want you to be that. If you are a full blown demon, be a full blown demon. Be you, be all of you. But if you're actually a puppy, be a puppy. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a puppy, but you need to pick because you were real big and bad a second ago. And when I finally put you in your place, now you're walking around here humbled up with your tail tucked like a little puppy that just got scolded. Not feel, heal. Bring them to heal, HEEL. Like, this is annoying. I'm not a dog trainer. You know what I mean? Like, be one or the other. Either be a full-fledged demon or be the puppy, but you can't be both. Because being both is annoying and that'll cause this friendship to end. Okay? Friendship, relationship, job, whatever. You keep waffling and oscillating between pure evil and innocent as a lamb. I'm not doing that with you. I need people who know who they are. Okay? But it's true. They're very obedient to authority. And I think he was just saying that when he finally put her foot down with her, she started to act right. I could be wrong, but I think that's my recollection of it. Okay. And then this is the final actual slide. We'll do a quick break, a quick after show, and then I got to run to my little restaurant doesn't close. Okay. So it says, he or she who would do true battle with evil must expect to be depleted beyond imagination, perhaps even beyond recovery. Okay. And I don't think a truer statement has ever been spoken. If you've ever had any kind of even short-term interactions can have an impact, but any type of long-term interaction with these narcissists will wear you out and will cause you to have to go into some form of recovery and recuperation. And that recuperation can take years sometimes. Like, I feel honestly like I'm only just now starting to come out of some of my experiences with them. Well, not only just now, I would say like the past 2 or 3 years have been relatively solid. I got a couple I'm having issues with now, but nowhere near as much as I used to. But the trauma remains because the trauma is, okay, not going to let anybody that close to me anytime soon again, because wow, like that was a whole experience with you. And I thought you were a normal person at first. You know what I mean? So it makes it to where you're not quite as open to new friendships and new circles and all this and that, because you just start to see the same patterns play out over and over again. You start to see how it starts and you're like, nope, cutting that off at the knees. When I moved, I had a neighbor. She tried to latch on to me immediately and I could already see who she was. I was like, nope, chop that relationship off at the knees. Now she hates me. And that's actually perfect, because if she did not hate me, she would be over here knocking on my door every single day with something different. And I didn't want that. I wanted boundaries for myself. And I could see that she was a person who attempts to ragdoll other people, because the very first question she asked me when she met me was, do you babysit? This was the first day that we met. I had just met this woman. I want to say girl, but she's not a girl. She's grown, but I don't know how old she is. She's probably like 30. Very first day I met this girl. Do you babysit? I said, no, ma'am. And the request just kept evolving from there, and every single one of them got shot down. Now she hates me because she hasn't been able to extract anything from me. But do you see why I chopped it off though? Because if I had been like, oh yeah, sure, I'll babysit for you, no problem. Honey, that would probably turn into, hey, watch my kids from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. to watch my kids overnight, to random knocking on the door. Hey, can you watch my kids for 5 minutes while I go to the grocery store? No, ma'am. I don't play games like that. Some of you might, and my hat goes off to you. Shout out to you. But I don't do that kind of stuff. No, because the requests never end. And she has a whole husband, or I don't know if that's her husband or boyfriend, but they live together. She's not a single mom. She got a whole, I can't say the word I want to say. She has a whole male in the house with her, a whole male. And over here asking me for hammers. I'm like, your man don't have a hammer, girl. Wow. You might need to drop him. All right. So with that, you guys, we made it through our comeback show. Woohoo! I told y'all we're going to finish this book. I'm determined. All right. I am determined to finish it. And we actually don't have that much further to go. So let us take a really quick break. Well, it'll be like, this break is actually going to be kind of long. It's going to be a little longer than 5 minutes. And then after that, I'll come back, do a quick after show, and then I got to go eat. I'm so hungry, y'all. All right, so here we go, and I'll be right back. Expand your book collection but not sure where to start? With everything going on this past year, why not get away in the prophetic love story of Jazzman, written by V. Prophetess Hazlitt. Based on the lovely setting of Rhinebeck, New York, Jazzman is a love story that proves lasting love still exists. Pick up your paperback or Kindle copy today, link in the description box below. right, I'm back. Let us go into after show mode. I also want to see how it sounds with me speaking over music, because lately, every time I've tried to speak over music, it gets distorted. And I don't like that. I'd actually like to be able to speak over music and not have it be distorted. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to the after show. We will make this really quick. And as a matter of fact, let me set myself a timer because I know how I am, and I'll get going and I'll miss my food. And I actually have food in the house to cook. I don't have the wherewithal today. In the future, we will do some after shows where I'll let you guys call in. I apologize that I didn't plan well enough for that this time, but I will do that for you guys in the future, okay? I did just see, oh, you want the song? It says the artist and title of the first song that came on after the advertisement of the book. Let me see if I've actually got that. Ooh, let's see. I think I might have that already somewhere for you because it's an Adobe stock song and you have to have a license to use it. So I think I have that somewhere, but if I can't find it here in the next few seconds, what I'll do is I will drop it in the description box for you, okay? Let me try one more thing. Let's try searching. Here we go. Oh, okay, I got it. It's an Adobe stock music song and it's called Time for Spring. And I'm not sure of the artist, but that is the name of the song, Time for Spring. So for any content creators who are interested in using music, just know that whenever you use a stock song that has a license associated with it, you're going to get hit with a copyright, not strike. It's like a flag, but you can clear it if you have the license code. So make sure you always write down your license codes so you can clear it. Clear the copyright. All right. One day I hope they let us use real music from real artists. Not that these aren't real artists, but whatever. Anyway, welcome guys. Welcome to the after show. I'm going to go through your comments. I've set myself a little timer and we'll get out of here. Okay. Let's see here. It says the main protection we have from this are healthy boundaries. So we've got to sort it out, ladies. Exactly. Those boundaries are so important. And you know you got a good boundary when you feel uncomfortable enforcing it. Now, it can be easy to confuse discomfort with, doing the wrong thing. But I think we know the difference. You know that it's a boundary when you feel bad enforcing it. If you don't feel bad, it may or may not be a boundary. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that more. But typically you're like, man, this is going to suck having to enforce this. That's how you know you got a strong boundary in place. Let's see. Yep. They're always afraid of being caught. They live their entire lives worried that they're going to get caught or found out about that one thing. So if you're not this type of person, you don't live like this, so you can't relate. You don't know what it's like to run around constantly worried if XYZ is going to be found out or XYZ is going to catch up with you. So for example, you know who's running scared right now? A whole lot of builders, engineers, structural engineers, people who are in that industry who've engaged in a lot of shady behaviors over the years regarding these buildings and construction sites. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of departures, self-made departures, because it's like, everyone is going to be looking with a fine-tooth comb now. Thought we got away with it. Oh, but he does. It says, what? Since when does evil submit to authority? Donald Trump doesn't submit to authority. Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does. I'm trying to think. I've seen him heal to somebody before. I believe he's healed. I think I saw him heal during one of the presidential debates. He has authority. You know, his authorities are people like Alex Jones and folks like that run this man. His whole constituent base is his authority. Oh, yes, darling. Oh, he absolutely submits. And if it's not those, it's someone higher that we don't even know about. Now that's worthy of a deeper PTE discussion. But if it's not the constituent base, and it's not Melania, and it's not people like Alex Jones or a very firm interviewer, then it's someone else who we don't know about, an unseen person who pulls his strings. But please believe he heals to somebody. Oh, please believe that. Let's see here. Putin, perfect example. Oh man. Oh, he absolutely heals to Putin and is obedient to Putin. 100%. They heal because all of these people have someone higher than them. They all do. And I just think the highest ones have Satan over them. Satan is their leader. But after that, it just goes in a little hierarchy. Let's see. Exactly. He and other evil people are subservient to those that they see as stronger than them. They all bow to somebody. Trust me. Which is part of the reason they go so hard on you, because they hate the fact that they bow to this person or entity or whatever. So they need to feel powerful again. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. It says maybe that berating reverts them back to childhood somehow. Maybe. And maybe that's why they become so meek and submissive and humble, almost like a parent who just got onto a child real bad. And how much the child just wants to make it up to the parent and doesn't want the parent to be mad at them anymore. Like, there is power. When it comes to the narcissist, oftentimes displays of anger don't really work with them. If you really want to get at your narcissist, you have to display disappointment. And that's how you get at your narcissist. You have to exhibit a certain disappointment with them. And I'm laughing because there's a face that goes with it too. It's not an easy face to do, but there's a certain face of disappointment that you can make with them, and it changes them as people, I'm telling you. Like, I know I've shared with you guys before that I've had encounters on the job where people will tell me that they're afraid of me. And I'm like, you guys will see me one day. One day, hopefully we'll hit 100 soon. You guys, I've made the decision that I am going to come on and say hello. And then I'll start doing shows on camera every now and then. But when you see me, honey, there's nothing to fear. Nothing. There's nothing about me to fear. Nothing. There's nothing scary about me. Like, if you looked at me, you would be like, oh, I could take her in a fight. And you probably could. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'll whoop you. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. I don't know. But I scare people for some reason. And I think I finally figured out why. It's because when I'm disappointed, my disappointment is communicated. Like, it's palpable and tangible. And I'm not a loud, emotional, reckless type person. I don't conduct myself that way. So it's it's usually a quiet disappointment. It's a very quiet disappointment. And I think it affects people more than I realize. Like, and it turns into a situation where they want me to be happy. And my thing is, this is not about whatever we're working on or dealing with. It's not about me being happy. Like, whatever I'm disappointed about is probably something that we can fix together. You know what I mean? Anyway, that'll take me off on a different thing. But I think that's why people are afraid of me in person. It's like they don't want to let me down. They don't want to disappoint me. And when I'm disappointed, it shows. Oh, it shows. Like, I can't hide it. I'm sorry. I'm cracking up now. I don't know why that's funny to me. Because it's kind of sad. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, people tell themselves so many stories about me, and they are always like so in their head over me. And I'm like, honey, if you only knew I wasn't thinking about you. What I'm probably thinking about is what I'm going to make for dinner and when I'm going to wash my hair. And what I'm going to do for a show on my YouTube channel. It's probably what's on my mind, not you. All right, let's see here. Just scrolling through your comments. It's so great to have you all. Yeah, they suck the life. They suck the life right out of you. They sure do. Whew. Because I feel like part of what gives life is things like clarity. Like, think about it like this, you guys. Has there ever been something that you've been trying to figure out before and you couldn't figure it out? You looked it up, you researched it, you asked around, you just couldn't figure it out. Then one day you finally get your answer. Think about how that makes you feel in that moment when you actually get your answer. So I feel like things like clarity and knowledge and information give life. So when you're dealing with someone who does all of the opposite of those things, it's almost like they take that life away from you. It's soul stealing behaviors, soul stealing. By the way, at some point, this little alarm is going to go off and it startles me. So I'm sure it might startle you too. So I'm just apologizing in advance for startling you. Okay. Ooh, when one stares into the abyss stares back. Absolutely. Let's see. Shallow, non-committing, no values people. They run away from the truth because it hurts them too much. So they deny and blame others. The problem is they do not learn lessons that stay exactly. And then the same things that they're trying to run away from, they repeat because they refuse to learn the truth of that particular lesson. Like, self-reflection is hard. It's not easy. Like, it's not easy to realize that you did something wrong or you messed something up. Like, we want to be good. Like, we want to do things well. And I feel like part of our original state, meaning our spiritual state, was a certain type of perfection. So when we come down to this realm and we're forced to live in a realm where we're not able to be perfect like we were, it bothers us. It should, you know, but it shouldn't destroy us. It should just make us, give us something to work on. Like, your biggest competitor should be yourself. And I know that's kind of cliche, but I actually mean it. Like, from year to year over year, I'm competing with myself from last year because I've recognized that I'm also my biggest enemy. Like, I am my best friend and I am also my worst enemy. I can't stand myself sometimes. I'm like, you just couldn't pick it up and put it in the basket, could you? You just had to throw it on the floor, right? And create more work for yourself, huh? You like that. You like creating more work for yourself. Like, sometimes I cannot stand myself, but recognizing that I am my greatest enemy, but also my best friend, makes it to where I'm competing with myself year over year. I don't have time to compete with you, honey. I'm trying to battle this chick. Let's keep going. I think we only have a few minutes left. Let's see. Oh, yes. Oh, it takes me forever to adopt a new friend. I think it might take me about 20 years to finally call somebody a friend. So that means people from my high school age years are finally getting around to being judged as either friends or foes. And I need to find a way to shorten that time frame. But you just have to watch people, man. I'm telling you, because like I said, there's been some family members lately who've displayed behaviors that really make me go, wow, you really have to watch people all the time. You can never get too comfortable. And I think that's going to be a show that I do on my other channel. And I think I'm going to title that show The Full Flower. The Full Flower, FULLFLOWER, The Full Flower. And I think I have an example, and I don't want to give it now because I don't want to steal my own thunder, but there is a flower that takes 20 years to flower. F it. I just stole my own thunder anyway. There's a flower called the bird of paradise. And I think it is the most entertaining plant. And it actually makes me laugh because according to what I read, it takes this thing 20 years to flower, 20 years to put out a flower. So you can buy it and have it for years and years and years and think this is just a plant. Like, it's just, you know, a green leafy plant. And then 20 years later, out pops this beautiful flower. Like, what were you doing all this time? But it makes me think of this topic because it's like, if someone, say, had that plant for 5 years, then gave it away, they never really actually knew what it was, assuming no one told them. Assuming nobody actually told them. Say somebody gifted it to them and they're like, oh, this is a nice green plant. I'll keep it. They keep it for 5 years and they give it away. And they had no idea there was actual flour in there, a whole flour, and that it can actually produce flour. So in other words, they didn't know what it was because it had not reached its full flour yet. And I'm going to take that principle and apply it to the narcissistic, demonic, evil people in our lives who have not flowered yet. And that's why it takes you by such surprise. Okay. So, and actually I have 10 seconds left on my timer. I don't feel like being startled. So I'm going to stop my timer and I'm going to stop myself and honor my little goal here of about 15 minutes. I promise you guys we'll do longer after shows. And I'll also incorporate a call-in element to those shows as well. So you guys can express how you feel. And so we can talk. But with that, I appreciate you all. It's so good to have you back. I missed you. I've been thinking about the series the whole time, and I always intended on bringing it back to you. And I'm happy that I finally am starting to make good on that promise. Okay. So stay tuned. My goal is to do the next chapter next week. So maybe next Thursday. That's not a promise. Don't you write that on your calendar. That is not a promise. But now that I'm back kind of up in the rhythm, I think it'll be easy to keep that rhythm going. So I'm going to aim for next Thursday. Don't you dare write that down. That is a hope. Okay. But I'll be sure to let you know. But I think we can start rolling them out now to where we can finish this book once and for all. Okay. Thank you all so much. We'll talk again very soon. And I'll be back on tomorrow with the news break. Okay. Bye.